Have you ever had one of those days where you've done absolutely nothing physical? Maybe you just sat at your desk or scrolled through your phone, yet you feel like you've just run a marathon? You're mentally drained, emotionally flat, and the things that used to excite you just don't anymore. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? We live in the most stimulated era in human history, with a world of entertainment in our pockets. Yet we are witnessing a global collapse of motivation.
It's a fascinating, if slightly terrifying phenomenon. What we're seeing isn't a sudden wave of laziness or a lack of willpower. It's actually a biological mismatch. Our brains were evolved for a world of scarcity where finding a piece of fruit or a social connection was a rare, high-value event. Today, we live in a world of infinite digital fruit. We are essentially trying to run prehistoric software on a high-speed 24/7 fiber optic network. And the hardware, our nervous system is starting to smoke at the edges.
That's a powerful image. Prehistoric software on a modern network. It feels like we're constantly plugged in, but never actually charging. We keep hearing about the reward system, and it's usually mentioned in the context of addiction or dopamine. But for the average person listening who just feels blah, how is this system actually functioning, or malfunctioning, in their daily life?
Think of the reward system as your internal compass for survival. It's a complex circuit involving dopamine that's designed to make you want things that keep you alive: food, social bonds, learning new skills. When you achieve something, you get a hit of pleasure, which reinforces the behavior. But here's the kicker. The system is most sensitive to anticipation. In the past, you'd hunt for hours for a reward. Now, you get that hit every 3 seconds with a thumb swipe. When you flood the brain with constant, easy rewards, the brain does something very smart but very painful. It turns down the volume. It desensitizes itself to protect your neurons from being overwhelmed.
So it's like being at a concert where the music is so loud that your ears eventually stop hearing the nuances, and everything just becomes a dull roar?
Exactly. That's dopamine desensitization. When the volume of your life is turned up to 11 by social media, notifications, and endless streaming, the quiet rewards of real life like reading a book, having a deep conversation, or working toward a long-term goal become completely inaudible. They don't provide enough noise to register on your desensitized system. That's why people feel emotionally flat. It's not that they don't want to be happy, it's that their brain has raised the threshold for what counts as a reward so high that normal life can't reach it.
That explains so much about why focus has become a luxury. I see people, myself included, who struggle to sit through a 10-minute video without checking their phone twice. We've been conditioned for rapid-fire novelty. But what does this do to our long-term drive? If we lose the ability to appreciate the slow rewards, are we essentially losing our ability to build a meaningful life?
I believe so. Meaningful achievement usually requires a period of boredom or sustained effort without immediate feedback. If your brain is addicted to the micro reward of a like or a 10-second clip, the macro reward of finishing a degree or mastering an instrument feels like a desert. We're seeing a shift where attention is becoming the most valuable biological currency we own. If you can't control your attention, you can't control your dopamine. And if you can't control your dopamine, you've lost the steering wheel to your own motivation.
It's interesting you mentioned the steering wheel. Many people who feel this way, this burnout, often blame themselves. They think they're failing at life or that they're just not grinding hard enough. But from what you're saying, this emotional numbness might actually be a survival mechanism. Is the brain essentially pulling the circuit breaker to prevent a total meltdown?
That is a perfect way to put it. Burnout isn't just working too many hours. You can work long hours on something you love and feel energized. True burnout is nervous system overload. It's the result of carrying the weight of digital comparison, constant cognitive input, and the invisible stress of being always on. When the brain realizes it can't keep up with the demands of this hyper-stimulated environment, it enters a state of functional disconnection. It numbs you out to save energy. It's the brain's way of saying, I'm going into low power mode because the environment is too expensive for me to process right now.
So the laziness we feel is actually our brain's version of a system rest. But the irony is that instead of actually resting, We usually try to fix the boredom by scrolling more, which is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline.
Precisely. We seek more stimulation to overcome the numbness, which only increases the desensitization. It's a vicious cycle. And we haven't even touched on how this affects our sleep. Sleep is the only time the brain truly cleans itself and resets those dopamine receptors. But what do most people do in the hour before bed? They subject their retinas to blue light and high-velocity information. We are literally stealing the only medicine that can fix our broken reward system.
It feels like we're living in an age where doing nothing has become a radical act of health. We've demonized boredom, but maybe boredom is actually the reset button we desperately need?
Boredom is essential. It's the space where the brain begins to recalibrate. When you stop the external input, your internal world has a chance to speak. This is why some of the most successful people in the world are now practicing dopamine fasting or intentional disconnection. They realize that to be productive, they need their brain to be sensitive to small rewards again. They want to be able to feel a sense of accomplishment from solving a difficult problem, not just from seeing a red notification bubble.
I'm curious about the role of technology here. We're seeing a rise in wearable tech that tracks HRV, sleep quality, and stress. Do you think this is part of the solution? Using technology to tell us when we've had too much technology?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword, but yes, awareness is the first step. When you can see on a graph that your stress levels stayed high all night because you were scrolling until 1 a.m., it stops being a vague feeling and becomes a biological fact. It helps people realize that their lack of motivation is actually a lack of recovery. We need to start treating our nervous systems with the same respect we give our physical bodies. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon every single day without rest, yet we expect our brains to process a marathon of information every single day.
That's a sobering thought. We're essentially asking our brains to perform at an elite level 24/7. If we look toward the future, it seems like the people who will thrive are those who can build a moat around their attention. It's not just about who is the smartest or the hardest working anymore. It's about who can protect their biology from the noise.
Absolutely. The future belongs to the deep thinkers, those who can resist the pull of the immediate reward in favor of the significant one. But to do that, we have to change our relationship with our environment. We have to move from being passive consumers of stimulation to being active architects of our own focus. That means setting boundaries with our devices, prioritizing real-world connection over digital validation, and, most importantly, giving ourselves permission to be unproductive so our brains can actually heal.
It's a total shift in perspective. Instead of asking, how can I be more motivated? We should be asking, how can I make my brain more sensitive to motivation again? It's about clearing the clutter so the signal can get through.
Exactly. Motivation isn't a gas tank that you just fill up with caffeine or hustle. It's a delicate ecosystem. If the ecosystem is polluted with too much noise and too much easy dopamine, nothing meaningful can grow there. You have to clean the water first. You have to lower the baseline. Once you do that, you'll find that you don't need to find motivation. It's a natural byproduct of a healthy, rested nervous system.
I think that's a message a lot of people need to hear right now. It's an invitation to stop fighting yourself and start listening to your biology. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the evolutionary roots of our reward system to the modern burnout. That's really just a protective shutdown. It's clear that our current way of living is a massive experiment on the human brain, and the results are telling us it's time to slow down.
It really is an experiment, and the good news is that the brain is incredibly plastic. It can heal. If you start making small changes today, putting the phone away an hour earlier, taking a walk without headphones, choosing a difficult task over an easy distraction, your reward system will start to recalibrate. You'll find that the world starts to look a bit more colorful again. The flatness begins to lift, and your natural curiosity and drive return. It's not a quick fix, but it is a biological certainty if you give it the right environment.
That's a hopeful place to end. It's not that we've lost our spark. It's just that the lights are too bright for us to see it right now. We just need to dim the room a little. For everyone listening, maybe the most productive thing you can do after this episode is nothing. Just sit with your thoughts for 5 minutes. Let your brain breathe.
I couldn't agree more. The most powerful tool you have for a better future is your own attention. Protect it like the treasure it is. Don't let it be sold to the highest bidder one swipe at a time. Your motivation, your creativity, and your happiness are all waiting on the other side of that silence.
Thank you for this deep dive. It's certainly given me a lot to think about, and perhaps more importantly, a lot to stop doing. We often think of self-improvement as adding new habits, but today it feels like the real improvement comes from subtracting the things that are wearing us down.
Subtraction is the ultimate sophistication in the digital age. It's about finding the signal in all that noise.
Truly. We'll be keeping an eye on this space, especially as more research comes out on how our digital habits are reshaping our neural pathways. But for now, the takeaway is clear. Your brain wasn't built for this much noise. Give it some quiet, give it some sleep, and give it a chance to remember what it's like to be truly motivated by things that matter. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one, hopefully after you've had a little bit of nothing time.